you have plenty of time to respond for every move. You have half an hour per move. So what we're gonna do is, it's your first move. You're black, I'm white. You can pick anywhere on the board, right? And the question is, where will you place a stone? Okay, to occupy the most space. Great. I am going to try to carve out at least half, because I have Komi, and that's that 5.5 points that you see in the upper right corner. Because I have 5.5 points head start, if we split the whole board half and half, I'm going to win, right? So I'm okay splitting the board somewhere in the middle. And by the way, you're okay looking at my screen too, although there is probably 4 to 8 seconds delay between what you hear on this Discord one. All right, so I'm gonna slowly start occupying this space. And by the way, feel free to ask me anything, and I talk a lot, so. Yes. And again, as your rank goes up, sometimes, and you have automatic Komi, it will sometimes shrink, sometimes grow. All right, so here's the question about this move. Why this move? Why go e5? Aside of the fact that it's Bud Duck's favorite move. Okay, so what Saber says is he's trying to, or sorry, they are trying to surround me. I'm in a habit of switching, so I might call you she, he, they, it. I apologize. I know what your preferred is. It's out of a habit, so I apologize for that. But they are trying to aggressively push my stones. Now, in this game, the important part is the territory not killing or capturing my stones, which means that you can win the game without capturing a single stone or surrounding a single stone, because the territory is what drives the game, right? So if I decide that, hey, I'm gonna get myself into a fight here with you, we are all getting clustered at the center, and none of the territory around it is actually, getting taken. So I see you, and I feel that this was a little slow, because all that left side is left barren. So if I play d5, suddenly I'm covering the left side as well. By the way, I'm not really good. There's a guy called Jay, and he is really good at teaching. Okay. So we're getting this cross thing. Now, your stone, although it's splitting my stones in part, it's getting a little separated from the rest of the group. Again, my stones aren't very big groups, so you can still run around them, but it's starting to get a little tight on space. All right. In that case, I am going to... you go here, I go here, you go here, I go here, you go here. Symmetrical. Just going to go. Oh. I'm going to start claiming the bottom left corner. Nice. So you threatening my stone. I am going to run. Okay, I'm gonna indulge your fight in the middle and just poke in the middle. What you're thinking? Yeah, you can the whole part of the game is it's a the for me the game of Go is about suffering through small mistakes for the rest of the game. There's a little problem forming between your e7, d6, and c5 stones. Those are all, you know, diagonal connections. They're a hane, which means that they're susceptible to poke through. No, you have 29 minutes left per move. You have 30 minutes per move. So you going aggressively after my stones. What's going on? This is they are not little white chocolate dipped strawberries. I know you cannot have them. I'm gonna protect them. Again, each stone has. I'm interested what you are trying to do, and I'm really liking the whole bottom right side. The sheer size of it is very pleasing to the eye. Well, talk to me. There's people in the chat, and I can relay um, the the message, or you you can always type. Plus, there's a whole channel in the Discord where you can actually type in your questions if you ever get stuck about something. I mean, this game is very difficult to learn alone. I hate to say it out loud on stream, but neither do I. Alright. Behind, I appreciate that heads up. I will adjust it for next if we play another game. Right. So what I did is I pretty much helped you make me an eye. So my white group is feeling a lot more secure now. I also on Discord I posted in the Go channel I posted a couple ideas like, hey, there's a website with the Joseki and this Go program and this Go program are also pretty decent, like Ego Win or Many Faces of Go. Oh, why? Well, you cannot kill the stones on the left bottom side. They have one eye in B3 and they will have one eye in A2, A1 or B1. Like I am going to squeeze an eye there in there. Right? So you see those two points, D7 and C6, right? Those are the two weak points I was talking about, right? Now I'm climbing in and that whole snake on the 5th line, ABC on level 5, is starting to get threatened. And the stone in the D6 position is being threatened. So I'm starting to, kind of crawl into your space. If you protect, well, you invited me, right? No. So if you protect the D6 stone, right? I'm taking those 4 stones eventually, right? One of the ways to protect it would be to close one of the loopholes, or putting a stone in C7, right? In C7 you would be able to kind of protect both of them with something called a tiger's mouth, which is a free stones area. Yep. But now I can just take things. Okay. So your plan is what exactly? No, you can't. No, you can't. What you can do is you can try to save something, right? So for me, a C7 moves means that I get to pick. If I go for D7 move and I take your D6 stone, right? You get to try to protect your stone, save B6 and Atari my stone. I connect and then you hopefully be able to build a base. But I will be able to separate your free stones on the 7th line with your free stones on the 5th line. Or I can drop down to B6, kill your stones on the 5th line, but then you're closing off me from the top of the map and getting some points. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm a simple greedy man. I see 4 stones, I go yum 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 yum. So that's where I'm going with it. No. Okay. Now why did you play there? Okay. Well, there is B7, for example. Right? B7 would force me to do something about those 2 stones on line 6, B6 and C6, because I would either have to take it or at A6 or take it at D7, right, and do something. This right now, I go like, okay, I am going to say hello at B7. Right, you left opening, and I'm just gonna start coming in. And the reason why I don't have to take anything, because if you play A6, I still can take you at 8. Okay, I'm going. Yes. If I put it in D7, my liberties are counted after yours. So I put at D7, we count the liberties of the D6 stone. He has nothing, it's getting taken out. And then my liberties are getting counted. And my liberties are going to be 1. Because your stone is going to die before mine does. But for example, you you cannot put a stone in B3, because if you put a stone in B3, all my guys around it are alive, right? I have extra liberties, and your stone doesn't, right? Yours are getting counted after mine. So if you throw in something that will actually suicide, if you want, you can undo the move and move it. All right, in that case, I'm gonna take. And now we have something that is a call, right here. If you wanna, if you wanna continue it, you cannot play d6 this round, but on the next turn you will be able to play there again if I don't fill it in. Which means that you can try something a little bit more risque, seeing if I respond to it. That's not risky enough because I can just keep on chewing at your stones. Like I can, for example, take your C7 stone. Something risque would be, for example, playing a C1 stone. Because if I don't respond to C1 with a B1, the next round you play B1, right? And my 2 eyes for this group are disappearing. Of course, my group got another eye at D6, or another liberty. It's not an eye, but another liberty there, right? But then it's starting to have to be, hey, am I capable of creating another eye somewhere else? Because you're very much into my business. And that eye at B3 becomes a false eye, because you can just slice it right through the middle. Well, you played there. I am going to keep on chewing. Right, the question is, where is your territory and are your stones alive? So, I don't have much territory. Like I have some of your black stones captured, right? But the question is it worth it fighting for the B8 and A7 stone? It is a stone, but honestly, it's like, you know, you have 17 kids. One of them ain't making it. Boo hoo, right? It's not the prize winning pot, right? So there is some territory on line 8 and 9 on the right side, right? And there's some territory that still needs to get renegotiated in the bottom right on lines 3, 1, 2, and 3 between F and J, right? Putting one at a9 won't get you anywhere. You put that one at a9, I put one at c9, right? And I can eventually eat those stones one by one, right? Because you want c9, right? You put a stone at c9. I'm going to play e8. You put a c9, I'm going to play e8, right? Then you can take a c7. I connect at d6. Okay. So what's the big plan here? Yes. And I cannot put one at c8 right away. Okay. I am going to connect them. No. But there's a bigger catch to fry here. If you play at a6, I'm going to put in a8, and you're going to lose 6 stones rather than 4. These 4 stones ain't alive. They haven't been alive for a while. I mean, unless you are able to do some connection between your group on the right side through the bottom and relatively solid, and that's going to take a lot of stones, might not be worth the time, right? But the problem is, what happens if I start chewing into your territory now? You don't have territory, right? The game is about territory. The game is about how much you capture, how much you kill. The place is territory. Just because you shot 20 bullets doesn't mean you're actually going to have steak for dinner. So at some point you might want to consider dealing with that stone at e8. At some point you might attempt to cut off my access to the upper right corner. Maybe a stone at h6, depending on how scared you are of the e8 stone, right? Maybe something along the lines of, I don't know, h3, h4, trying to get some thing here. Maybe a stone in e2, trying to prevent that stone from happening, right? So there's a couple of things you need to consider. Now, questions where the biggest space is and what is there to lose. I personally would worry about the stone e8 a little bit. f8 was probably a decent play. Right? Now I come in and I'm gonna try to threaten your d8 stone. Right? But you can just take the e stone and be done with it. Right? Alright. And suddenly this group on top starts to have a lot of liberties I cannot easily bombard with my stones. Okay. So I'm seeing that and I'm gonna go, hey, I am not worried about the top as much. But I'm worried a little bit about the bottom. So I'm just gonna start threatening you here. Igraz, H silent, Igraz, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the chat. We are playing a little game with Saber, just trying to, hash out a couple of things. They are on my Discord. You won't be hearing their voice for privacy and comfort reasons, so you just hear me talking to myself. I apologize in advance for craziness. Alright, so I'm threatening your D2 stone. The D2 stone ain't exactly very healthy. Things that are surrounded on line number 2 ain't exactly alive. Be hidden. Thank you very much for the follow. I very much appreciate it. Again, the craziness still happening, right? So there's a couple things to consider. One is you can try to threaten that stone on E2 by putting a stone on F2, right? Mind you that I still have a threat at G4. There's also a threat at G4. If I place a stone at G4, right, those 4 stones on E5, E4, E3, and F4 have only one liberty left. Right? But if you take the stone on E2, there is an inkling of an eye becoming to form, which means that there's an off chance you might be able to save that group. Maybe not with a lot of points, but still with, keeping your stones alive. And if I don't capture your stones, that's not a territory and prisoners I can use against you in the scoring. I would see what F2 does. Right? Because now if I can take that stone away on D1, right? But then you have opening to play somewhere on the 2, 3, 4 line and try to build a base. Again, your situation here isn't exactly great. You're like the only family member that decided to show to Halloween dressed as a KKK member. It's like, it ain't exactly a great look, It's like, but we can try to make it as reasonable. So I have a couple options. I can take that D2 stone. I can threaten you with expansion to G4, right? Or I could just plainly put a stone somewhere smack in, say, H7 or H3. Just going like, well, take that point, I'm gonna take all the other points, right? Because I have hubris and I think I can outmatch you on this. I'm just going to start threatening you. So I'm going to go with G4. If you connect the stones at F3, right? You're starting to cut yourself away from life because your shape gets really compact, really dense. And dense shapes don't live very well when they're getting surrounded. Again, there's exceptions to the rule, but dense shapes in general are a lot of stones that don't produce a lot of liberties. And take the whole thing. Right? But what you can do is you can play E1. Right? You take my stone, you have a liberty that I cannot immediately take over, and it's not a liberty I can easily approach, because if I play on D1, right, you just take at C1, and we're back to this conversation of me trying to prevent you from building stones rather than not. Okay. Well, I'm seeing this, and I'm going to start climbing down, and I'm going to do it cautiously. Maybe too cautiously. I'm going to go with G3. And here comes the part which comes with a lot of experience, is the part of reading the board. And I'm horrible. I can read maybe 2 moves ahead. Some of the better players here can probably read 8 or 9 moves ahead and figure out if it's worth it. But for somebody who's just beginning, the reading ability right now comes down to where are my liberties? And then once you have figured out how many liberties you have, how many liberties the opponent pieces have, or opponent group has, then comes the question of where are my eyes? And we know what the shape of an eye is. Like for example, the C7 eye for me is not an eye. That's a false eye. Right? That's a call, to be exact, right? So that's not an eye by itself, right? Just the same with your E2. Your E2 has a potential to be an eye, but it stops being an eye the moment, for example, I play F3. If I play at F3, right? If I play it at F3, those 4 stones on the E line are getting threatened. To protect them, you would want to play E2, say, but the problem with playing E2 is you kill your one potential eye. And it's not like there's a lot of space left there to begin with. If you put it in G6, you're forsaking the bottom group. Because my move is going to be F3. And again, at this point, the only group that you can have alive, presumably, is the top group. Right? So you can just forsake the bottom group, or you can just try to see if maybe I will make a mistake. Yes, I am going to make a mistake on purpose. So let's put a stone at F3 for now. Yeah. I know. But G6 doesn't get you anywhere. Because I can still connect at G5. Right? And connect the whole thing. So let's put your stone in F3. I'm hearing you saying G6, so I'm just going to do this. Panic mode. I don't know what Saber is talking. He is saying G6. You know, we're thinking Doge going to the moon. I don't see the board. And now you're in a very unique position. And your unique position is that you might be able to save your stones on the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would start with extending your spatial compartment. You need eyes, right? Well, so one of the ways to get eyes is to occupy more space, put a roof over your eyes. So for example, G2 is one of those moves. Okay. Now, if I play G1, that would destroy the wall of that eye that you're trying to build at F1, right? Right? You're trying to build an eye at F1. If you place G1, right, that would make it an eye. Right? So I am going to be a dick and I'm going to play at G1, obviously. Here's the thing that I didn't think about. I didn't think about the fact that now you can keep on going to H2 and you just make the room bigger. You know? I'm a constructor, I'm going to tell you I'm going to put a toilet right here and you're going to be like, oh fine, I'm going to move the wall. Right? And I'm like, oh hell no. So I'm going to chase you. Keep going. Maybe. Or you don't have to. Right? Now question is, do you need to play to J2? If I play to J2, you're playing H1 and you have one eye secured. And then the way to secure the other eye is to play a D1. Right? I cannot play D1. So the moment I play C1, you play D1 and your thing is secured. Right? So in theory, you don't have to respond to what I just did. You don't. There's nothing there for you to do, which means you just got center, which means you now have initiative. Which means that you can try to save some space on the top side of our playing field. For example, h7. Well, then let's place h7. Oh, I am going to play c1, and you have to respond to c1. I'm going to let you figure out where you have to respond to that. No, you already have e1. You mean d1 or f1? b1? b1 doesn't get you anywhere. What happens? Okay, so another thing that I always think about when I play people is I think of go moves or this game in an aspect of, if it's a good move for you, it might be a good move for me, and a good move for me might be a good move for you, right? So what would be a really good move for me? A really good move for me would be to break up your eye that you're trying to form at e2, right? That eye. How would I do it? Well, I would play at d1, right? And Atari the d2 stone. So how do you prevent that? e2 will kill the eye. Maybe d1? Oh, sorry. I thought you said b1, and I'm like, b1? No. Sorry, that was... Alright. I'm going to try to be sneaky, and I'm going to play f1. You see what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to take your stones. Yes. No, because I'm hoping you make a mistake. Yeah. You assume that you have an eye, right? And it's a false eye until it's supported by a second eye. Okay. So now your stones are live. Okay. In that case, I am going to start poking into your territory. I'm going to start poking into you. Oh. What are you thinking? Did you say C1? C7? Yeah, that's an option. I'm planning on going A8. Just be very careful. If you go A8, there might be blood. Because here's there's. Let's play it out and I'll show you afterwards in the review. It'll be faster for me to go click, 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 click. Okay. I'm fret. That's a co-fret. Then do undo. It wasn't bad, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. There's worse. But play whatever you want, and I'll show you thing afterwards. There's an important thing here to learn about the corners and liberties. There's a cool thing to learn here. Okay. No, so far so good. You can connect them at c8, and that's pretty much is going to finish the game. There's one more thing you can take, and I cannot do anything, so I'm gonna. I can. Oh, here. You can. We can fight over that point, right? Or this. Okay. I'll do here. Well, you have to protect your stone. One of them. Yep. And I will take this one, right? Can you play anywhere that's gonna make me miserable? And then you have to pass, right? So you pass, and I'm gonna fill in the blank. Pass, pass, and we're done with. If you play on Chinese rules, yes. If you play on Japanese, no. Wait. Go back. Go back. Why did you fill in J1? Why is... Okay. Black to move. You placed a stone in J1. J1 is your territory. Placing stones there doesn't make sense. Okay. No, you need to pass. I need to pass. So you need to pass one more time. Okay. So that's that. I won by only 8.5 points. You have more. You have a lot more territory than I do. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right? And it was a bloodbath. So here's the couple things. Let me just go back to this place. If you play here, you see the review with me? Right. If you play here, I play here. You take, I take. So there's that. So one way to protect this is, for example, to play this. Right? That was not a bad move either. The problem is you cannot connect because... So one of the ways to protect it is this. Again, corners are notoriously bad. Notoriously bad for liberties. So that's one. Yeah. So that's one. And then we went bam, 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 bam. That was a really nice move here. Limiting my territory. Blocking. And if we scored at this point, I only won by 4.5 points. Yeah, because it's empty territory minus the prisoners I hold against you. Hey Hayden, thank you very much for the comment. That's actually very much appreciated. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again. I stream go on Wednesdays from about 9:30 to about 12:30 Hawaiian Standard Time. So if not today, I hope to see you next time. All right, back to this. All right, so that was a big thing. The other thing, right? This is all kind of fighting. Now computer says there's a bunch of mistakes made, but up to this point, you were winning, according to the AI. Right? Why? Well, because I'm condensed. I have my 4 stones here, 3 stones here. I'm really kind of, really kind of tied together. Your weak point are those 3 stones, that little L shape. Okay? And again, if you look at OGS does this, blah. If you do one of those moves that they suggest, I don't get most of those moves because they are at a high level of what AI thinks based on other people's games. But this move at the 0, so H4, makes sense because it extends your stones out. Right? Out. Sorry? You went on the other side. Right? You were focused on killing me, which what it did is strengthen my stones rather than protecting us. The other thing is, how do you protect those 3 stones here, the E7, D6, and C5? Well, you protect them like this. That's one way to protect them. Right? Because if I play anywhere, you just take. The other way to protect it is you figure out which group is stronger and you protect the weaker one. That's another way to do it. Right? I come in and then we have a kind of a conversation of who's alive where. Again, 2 stones are stronger than 1, but liberty-wise, they ain't exactly overflowing with them. Right? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to surround me. And what does it for me is it allows me to build. Now, here the situation of the white stones isn't great. The advantage I have is I got my ass whooped one too many times playing these kind of close encounters, so I can have a feel for where the next move might go. And again, my stones have 2 liberties and a connection to a 3rd stone hanging outside, where your stones have 3 liberties and no, little bit of space to run, but nowhere else to go. Excuse me for a second. I'm gonna kiss my wife goodnight. Alright, I'm back. Because my wife works in a medical office and she works mornings. Usually I stream way past her bedtime and I kind of crawl in with my cold footsies in the middle of the night. Yeah, Baddak has a really good point. It's just count liberties. If both groups have the same amount of liberties and they are going out to kill themselves, the color that has the current move wins that fight. Right? So again, you're trying to cut me off. but I just build myself an extra out here, right? Again, you have 3 liberties now, and you still have 3 liberties. So if you're going for life, these stones didn't get much. This would give them a lot more. Yes. Liberties are the amount of free space a stone or group of stones that is connected has around it. 1, 2, 3. So E3, F3, and G4. Those are your free liberties, right? You place a stone at E3, your free liberties are G4, F3, and E2. You still have 3 liberties, right? I have 2, presumably I have 2. I have a D2 and a C2. But if I place a stone at C2, I suddenly have D2, C1, B1, and A2. Right, so I have a lot more. And what I'm trying to do is here, rather than just adding liberties to myself, I'm trying to threaten your stones while I'm doing so. Now, if you wanted your free stones to live, a possible move might have been to try to jump, say, to G3. You still have the same 3 liberties, but then if I try to encroach on your territory, you reconnect and you suddenly have a lot more. Right, so that's one. Maybe a knight's move, something bigger. Now again, on this board, that might be tricky to pull off because there's not much space. But again, I try to come in. I can, catch you, but then, there's some conversation perhaps to be had about, about where we're going. Now again, your stones are in somewhat unique position. That moment they are placed like this, this point is really making them vulnerable. So we're doing this. Now, I should have tried to kill them first rather than protecting my guys, but I'm just gonna protect my guys. Make myself an eye, and again, this is kind of a cool shape to head around the corner. There's a possibility of an eye here. Now, I think you chasing me from this side is nicely done. I think this is starting to look not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, I was expecting a lot easier time fighting you than what I gotten, so that's kind of cool. Right, so I got myself again. You're still trying to kill me here, and again, killing doesn't get you the points. What gets you the points is territory, and to have territory, you need groups that are alive, which means you need groups that have immortality for the most part. Right? And again, these 4 stones on the E line ain't exactly super alive. The other thing is you still have the 2 cuts at C6 and D7, and that group, that L-shaped Tetris size group of A5, B5, C5, C4, right, has 3 liberties, and it's pinned against a wall, which means it doesn't have space to run, which again causes kind of certain set of problems, which I managed to exploit. So instead of playing G7, I would have played, say, C7 or C6. Right? That's a decent move because I go here, you know. That was one. The other one is to try to play maybe here, trying to protect this, or maybe here somewhere, trying to expand this. Right? It's a very Go is very much about picking your battles, and so most of the time you're picking between lose, 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 and and be smart where you lose less. And it's not exactly obvious where you're going to lose less. I'm not very good at it, but all right. And sorry.